tries to speak, but all he can do is cough up blood. His eyes meet hers, terrified, confused, begging for help she cannot give. She wants to touch him. She can't. Wants to save him. She can't. One step back, then another, her hand covering her mouth, trying to hold back the scream. He stops moving. This is the Black Death, and this is just one house, one body, one family. Now multiply that by millions, on every street, in every city, in every corner of Europe, for years, without stopping. This is what it looked like. This is what it felt like. This is what millions lived through, or tried to live through. Between 1347 and 1353, up to 60% of Europe's population was wiped out. 1 out of every 2 people you knew, gone. Not from war, not from famine, from a disease they couldn't see, couldn't understand, couldn't stop. It moved faster than news, faster than fear, faster than prayer. If stories like this help you understand how people truly lived through history, this is a channel worth following. This is not about statistics, not about timelines, not about history books. This is about experience. What it felt like to wake up healthy and be dead days later. What it felt like to watch everyone you knew disappear. What it felt like when your world collapsed and nothing could save it. This is what a day in Europe looked like during the Black Death. Let's walk through it. Every terrible step. The fear doesn't announce itself. It creeps. A servant finds a dark, swelling cow under her arm while dressing. She hides it under her sleeve, says nothing, works through her shift, serves the evening meal. She's terrified, but more terrified of being thrown out, of having nowhere to go. So she stays quiet. The family eats the food she touched. They laugh at the table. They don't know. She clears the plates. Her hands are shaking. In the market, fewer stalls are open. People notice, but they don't say anything. A baker who was there last week isn't there now. Someone says, he's sick. Someone else says he left town. No one asks which. No one wants to know. They buy their bread and leave quickly. They don't meet each other's eyes anymore. A woman walks past her neighbor's door. She used to stop and talk. Now she crosses to the other side of the street. The neighbor sees this, says nothing, does the same thing the next day. Everyone does. The space between people grows wider. Not because anyone decided it, it just happens. Like water finding cracks. A priest visits a dying man. He prays over him, administers last rites. His hands touch the man's fevered skin. He tells the family God will protect the faithful. He believes this. He leaves. 3 days later, the priest is dead too. The family he prayed with comes to his funeral. They stand far apart. They don't speak. Before this, the city was different. Not better. Just different. Different in a way that's hard to remember now. The streets were full. Not of happiness. Life wasn't easy. People worked until their bodies broke. Children died from things no one understood. Hunger was common. Violence too. But there was a rhythm to it. A pattern. You knew what to expect. You planned for next season. Next year. You believed in tomorrow. The butcher's son was supposed to marry in spring. They'd chosen the date. His mother was sewing the bride's dress. She'd worked on it for months. Every stitch careful. Every seam straight. She'd hang it up at night and look at it. Imagine her son standing at the altar. Imagine grandchildren, a future. The dress is still in her house, unfinished. She stopped working on it. Can't remember when. The son is gone. The bride too. The mother sits in her empty house. The dress hangs on the wall, untouched. A merchant had ordered ships, new ships, bigger ones. He'd borrowed money, made promises, signed contracts. He was going to expand his trade, reach new cities. He'd drawn maps, calculated profits. He was so certain. The ships were being built when the sickness came. They're probably finished by now, sitting in some harbor. He doesn't know, doesn't care. He's not thinking about business anymore. He's thinking about his 3 sons. 2 are dead. 1 might survive. Might. That's the word he lives by now. Might. Maybe. Perhaps. Not yes. Never yes anymore. A girl was learning to read. Her tutor came twice a week. She was getting good at it. She'd trace the letters with her finger, sound them out. Her father was so proud. He'd tell everyone, "My daughter reads." Can you imagine? My daughter. The tutor stopped coming. No explanation. Just stopped. The girl asks her father when he'll return. Her father doesn't answer. Can't. The books sit on the shelf. Closed. They didn't understand. That's the worst part. They couldn't see it. Couldn't fight it. Couldn't run from it fast enough. Some thought it was in the air. Bad air. Miasma. They carried flowers. Held cloth to their faces. Breathed through herbs. It didn't help. Some thought it was God's anger. They prayed harder. Fasted. Gave away their possessions. It didn't help. Some thought it was the wells. Poisoned water. They stopped drinking from them. Bought wine instead. It didn't help. Nothing helped. A doctor visits a household. 6 people sick. He examines them. Takes their pulse. Looks at their tongues. Studies the swellings. He's read the medical texts. Studied under masters. He knows the theory of humors. The balance of elements. He prescribes bloodletting. Herbal poultices. Rest. He speaks. With confidence. He has no idea what he's doing. None of them do. He leaves. Moves to the next house. The next. The next. He stops counting. Stops remembering names. Just moves from door to door. Like a man in a dream. A nightmare that won't end. The city officials meet. They issue orders. Close certain streets. Forbid gatherings. Require the sick to stay inside. Mark their doors. They write these orders carefully. Proper form. Proper language. Official seals. As if order on paper creates order. In the world, it doesn't. The sickness doesn't read proclamations. Doesn't respect authority. Doesn't care about rules. It moves like smoke. Through doors. Through walls. Through everything. Many of these experiences were never written down. If this story resonates with you, leaving a like or a comment helps keep these histories alive. The city starts to break. Not all at once. In pieces. A family abandons their sick child. Just leaves. They tell themselves they have other children to think about. They're not wrong, but they're not right either. They leave her with a neighbor. The neighbor doesn't want to take her, but what can she do? Say no? Watch the child die alone? She takes her. The child dies anyway. 3 days later, the neighbor burns everything the child touched. The clothes, the blankets, everything. Then she burns the room, just to be sure. A son refuses to touch his father's body, refuses to help bury him. His mother screams at him, calls him coward, ungrateful, monster. He stands there, takes it, doesn't move. He says, if I touch him, I'm dead too. Then who buries me? Who takes care of you? His mother stops screaming. She knows he's right. She hates that he's right. They leave the father's body in the bedroom, close the door. They don't speak about it. Not ever again. Not for the rest of their lives. A mob forms in the street. They're looking for someone to blame. Anyone. Jews. Foreigners. The poor. The rich. The old woman who lives alone. The man who, came from the next town. They need someone guilty, someone they can hurt, someone who makes sense. Because senseless suffering is unbearable. So they make sense. Cruel sense. False sense. But sense nonetheless. They find a merchant. He's from another city. That's enough. They don't ask questions. Don't need proof. They beat him. Take his goods. Burn his wagon. The city officials watch. Do nothing. Can't control a mob. Don't want to try. Some turn to faith with desperate intensity. They walk from town to town. Flagellants. They whip themselves. Draw blood. Scream prayers. Beg forgiveness. Not for sins they committed. For sins they imagine. Sins that might, maybe, perhaps explain why God is angry. They whip harder. Bleed more. The crowds watch. Some join. Some throw stones. Call them heretics. Madmen. Everyone is looking for the right ritual. The right words, the right amount of pain, something that will make it stop. Others lose faith entirely. Churches stand empty. Priests preach to no one. A man who prayed every day of his life stops. Just stops. His wife asks why. He says, I prayed for my son. God took him anyway. I prayed for my daughter. God took her too. I prayed for mercy. God sent plague. So what's the point? His wife has no answer. She stopped praying too, weeks ago. Just didn't tell anyone. The rituals fall apart. Marriages, baptisms, funerals, all of it. There aren't enough priests for the dying, aren't enough graves for the dead. They start burying people in pits. Mass graves, no ceremony, no prayers, no names, just bodies on bodies on bodies, covered with dirt, lime, whatever's available. A man watches them throw his wife into a pit, watches them throw dirt on her face. He doesn't cry, can't anymore. Cried too much already, has nothing left. The economy collapses, not because of policy, because there's no one left to work. Fields go unplanted, shops stay closed. Wages don't matter when there's nothing to buy. Money doesn't matter when you might be dead. Tomorrow, a landlord can't collect rent from corpses. A creditor can't collect debts from empty houses. The whole system of who owes what to whom becomes meaningless. Absurd. People walk away from debts, from contracts, from obligations. What's anyone going to do? Sue them? Some get rich. The survivors, the ones who are lucky, or smart, or cruel, they buy property for nothing. Land, houses, entire estates. The owners are dead, the heirs are dead, or they're desperate enough to sell for bread. One man acquires 7 houses in a month. He doesn't feel guilty, doesn't feel lucky either, just feels strange, like he's walking through a city of ghosts, living in their homes, sleeping in their beds, wearing their clothes. A woman finds herself alone. Her husband is dead, her children, her parents, her siblings, everyone. She's the last. She sits in her house. The silence is overwhelming, not peaceful, crushing. She can hear her own breathing, her heartbeat, the sound of her dress moving when she shifts. These tiny sounds in this enormous silence. She thinks, I survived. She doesn't know if that's good or bad, doesn't know what to do with survival. Slowly, so slowly you almost don't notice. It begins to recede. Not because anyone did anything, not because of medicine or prayer or policy. It just runs out of people to kill, or the bacteria weakens, or the weather changes. No one knows. It just stops being everywhere, becomes just somewhere, then somewhere else, then rare, then memory. But the world that comes after isn't the world that was before. Can't be. Too much has changed. Too many dead. Too much trust broken. Too much faith lost. A man walks through his city. The streets are emptier. Not empty, but emptier. Some shops have reopened. Some haven't. Won't. He passes a building he used to visit. A friend lived there. The friend is gone. A new family lives there now. They don't know the friend. Never will. All those memories. Gone. Just gone. The survivors carry something. A weight. They don't talk about it much. Don't know how. But they feel it. In quiet moments. In crowds. In churches. In empty rooms. They know something now. Know it in their bones. In their blood. That the world can end. Not the whole world. But your world. The world of everyone you know. Everyone you love. That it can happen. That it did happen. That it might happen again. Some things change permanently. Labor becomes valuable. Suddenly. Terribly valuable. There aren't enough workers. The survivors can demand more. Better pay. Better conditions. Better lives. The nobles hate this. Issue laws trying to stop it. Trying to force wages back down. Force people back to their places. It doesn't work. Not really. You can't force a man to work cheap when there are 5 other lords who'll pay him more. The old order is cracked. Won't ever fully heal. People move. Leave their villages. Their cities. Their ancestral homes. Go somewhere new. Somewhere with fewer memories. Fewer. Ghosts. They lie about where they're from. Who they were. Start over. Become someone else. The old bonds of place, of family, of tradition. Looser now. Breakable. People begin to think, maybe I don't have to be what my father was. Maybe I don't have to stay where I was born. Maybe. The church changes too. Some see the plague as proof of its power. God's judgment. God's mysterious plan. Others see it as proof of its failure. All those priests who died. All those prayers that weren't answered. Faith becomes more personal, more private, less about institution, more about the individual soul facing an incomprehensible God. Seeds planted, will grow for centuries. Art changes, literature changes. Before, death was glorious, noble, honored. Now, death is just death. Corpses rotting in pits. No glory, no honor, just rot. Artists paint skeletons, dancing skeletons. Death leading rich and poor, young and old, into the grave. Everyone equal, everyone gone. The art is dark, honest, unflinching. They paint what they saw, what they lived through, what they can't forget. A generation grows up in the aftermath. Children who barely remember before, who think this emptier world is normal. Their parents try to explain, try to describe how it used to be. The children listen, don't really understand, can't. They didn't live it. Their world is this world, the one that remains. They move forward, build lives, have children of their own. The cycle continues, changed, but continuing. An old woman sits by her window. She's one of the last who remembers, really remembers. The world before, the world during. She's told the stories, her children, her grandchildren. They nod, say they understand. They don't, not really. How could they? She's not angry about that, not disappointed, almost relieved. She thinks, let them not understand. Let them live in a world where this is just a story, just history, not memory, not nightmare, just words. She looks out her window. The street is busy. People buying bread, haggling over prices, complaining about rain. Normal things, boring things, beautiful things. She watches them, thinks, we survived, not all of us, not most of us, but some. Enough. We survived. We continued. Life continued. That's enough. Has to be. If you want to keep walking through these eras with me, consider subscribing. The next story begins where this one ends. The city stands, emptier, different, haunted, but standing. The sun rises, sets, rises again. People wake, work, sleep. The routines return. Not the same routines, new ones, built on the bones of the old. That's how it works. That's how it always works. The world ends, the world continues. Both things true, both things happening, always. You live in a world shaped by moments like this. Moments when everything fell apart. When people couldn't save themselves, couldn't save each other. When the normal rules stopped working. When the future became uncertain, unknown, terrifying. You know what that feels like. Maybe not plague, but something. That feeling when the ground shifts. When what you thought was solid turns out to be fragile, breakable, temporary. The people who lived through the Black Death didn't know how it would end. Couldn't see the world that would come after. Just like you can't always see what comes next. They woke up each day not knowing if they'd survive it. Chose to keep living anyway. Kept loving. Kept trying. Kept going. Even when it seemed pointless. Even when it seemed impossible. Because that's what people do. That's what we do. We survive. We continue. We build on ruins. We remember. We forget. We move forward. The plague ended. Eventually. Everything does. But the memory didn't end. The change didn't end. The world that emerged was fundamentally different. Changed by death. Shaped by loss. Built by survivors who knew, really knew, how fragile everything is. They carried that knowledge. Passed it down. Changed laws, changed art, changed how people thought. About life, about death, about meaning, about faith, about each other. Their experience echoes, through centuries, through your life. Every time the world feels unstable, every time the future feels uncertain, every time you realize you can't control everything, can't protect everyone, can't stop what's coming. That feeling isn't new. It's ancient, shared across time. Across space, across all the people who've ever lived through moments when everything changed, when everything fell apart, when everything ended and continued simultaneously. They lived, they died, they survived, they remembered, they built, they changed, they passed something forward. To you, the knowledge that the world can end and continue, that collapse and creation happen together, that loss and life are intertwined, inseparable. Always. The Black Death took perhaps 30 to 60% of Europe's population, numbers that vast become abstract, meaningless, but each number was a person, a name, a life, a mother, washing her husband's shirt, a daughter sleeping upstairs, a man coughing in his home, a merchant's son who never married, a girl who was learning to read, A doctor who tried everything, failed at everything, kept trying anyway. They're gone. All of them. Gone for centuries. But their story remains. Their experience remains. Their choices remain. The world they built in the aftermath remains. Changed, transformed, evolved, but descended from that moment. That terrible moment when Europe's population crashed, when the old world died, when a new world began. You stand on ground they walked, live in cities they built, follow patterns they established, carry fears they felt, hopes they held, questions they asked. The line from them to you is unbroken, direct, real. They faced the unthinkable, survived the unsurvivable, or didn't, but enough did, enough to continue, enough to build, enough to become your ancestors. This is their day, their life, their death, their survival, their gift to you. The knowledge that even when everything falls apart, something continues, someone continues, life continues, always has, always will. That's not optimism. That's not pessimism. That's just truth. The truth they learned, the truth they lived, the truth they passed forward to you.